Okay, Philip, tell us a ghost story.
What?
Is that a farty?
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Smells
wow.
the fell or grandma.
Look, it's the face.
This is spooky. Oh, wow.
This is so fun. I love this pumpkin.
This is so fun. I love it.
Best
Okay,
pumpkin
tell us a
ever.
story, Philip.
Once upon a time, Jim and his mom were moving into Caleb. Jim and his mom were moving into an old mansion in Texas.
Okay.
What they didn't know was lurking behind those walls. Now it's just like story, okay? Okay, I'm gonna be Jim and I'm gonna be his mom. Okay. Mom, why did we move here? Well, because it was pretty cheap and old, so that's why it's cheap. It's not like the nice homes over in downtown Texas. But why? It's so spooky. Well, we'll get the Xbox and the computer set up soon, okay, Jim? Yay, Xbox. And then he started playing Call of Duty once they got it set up. But then when he was playing Call of Duty, the TV turned off randomly.
No
He's
way.
like, no, I lost all my data. But why did the TV turn off? And then he went to the computer and started watching random things. Then there was a creak on the floor. His mom wasn't there.
Where was she?
He's like, she's probably just running errands. But she wasn't. She was missing. So it was a couple days after this and he was getting frightened. So he called the cops. And then there was a whole search. And then one day they found her. But something had gotten to her first.
No.
The end.
The end? Oh, no. Wow.
That was really good.
Well done. I wish we had a flashlight. You ready? All right, story number 2. Are you excited, Liz?
Yeah.
I'm so excited. He's a good storyteller.
He makes us so happy.
Ooh, special effects.
All those eyelashes.
Once upon a time, there was, on a Halloween night, there was a family who loved Halloween.
What's us? Like the organ.
Da-da-dun. So, their children were out trick-or-treating normal. And while they were trick-or-treating, they were setting up their decorations because they're early. They like to set them up last thing, so they aren't ruined. So, all the children start coming into this house because they always have the best candy, okay? They have, like, world's biggest candy bars every year.
Okay.
And, yeah. So, one time on this special occasion they loved, a child came, and then he came for seconds and came more and more, but then he came, but he just stayed there, sitting there. And they're like, what are you doing? And then it was over, the day was over, and so they were all in bed, and the kid was still at their house.
That's creepy.
So the kid was lurking around their house.
Keep going. This is awesome.
So the kid was lurking around their house, and he didn't see where he was going, and he tripped. And he fell down the stairs. And his body was sitting there.
Oh my gosh.
Then the family woke up, and they called the police. But then they weren't seen ever again.
Yeah.
Okay. I wake up with an immense pain in my chest. My mouth covered in mouth. The last thing I see is the clock flashing 12 o'clock. I wake up frightened, and I see my closet moves at 11:58.
that it? Is that the story? Wow, that was amazing.
That was like the Twilight Zone introduction. That was good.
Okay, here, let me do it.
Okay, one more.
I just got off of this long trip from a ship, and I was hungry, and I was walking down to the place that they saw for me. I walked by house after house, seeing signs saying "Come live here" or stuff like that. And then I noticed this one with free breakfast and a nice bed in the distance with a dog. I went over and looked, and that looked delicious. And my mouth was savoring, and I was tired. So I knocked on the door, and she immediately answered. Something wasn't up with this, but I didn't care. I just wanted the hot breakfast and to sleep. So I go in, and she starts talking to me and asks if I want some tea. I say yes. She walks down the stairs, and I get to take a look around the little area. There's a sign-in book. I go over and open it up.
Moby Dick.
What? Sounds like Moby Dick.
Moby Dick.
There's the numbers from 10, 20 years ago. A guy named John signed in at about 1964. And then it just goes, skipping about 10, 20 years. And then it goes to 20. And it ends on 2000. And I was like, what's going on? She only has like 4 people.
Oh my gosh, this is freaking me out.
And, well, she comes back up, and the dog is still laying there, no movement at all. And she comes up, and she says, sweetly, want some tea? And I go over, and I take a sip, and it tastes a little bitter. I place it back down, and I'm still confused, and I ask her, and she just says, oh, don't worry about it. And then I go over to pet the dog, and it's cold. I take another sip of tea, and then I ask, why is the dog cold? She says, because it's stuffed.
It's stuffed.
And the next thing I know, darkness.
Oh, that was actually really scary.
That was good, Kayla.
That again?
Well, good job. All right, one more short one, Philip, okay? Scared me.
I am going to tell you the tale of the tales of all tales, from the depths of the depths. Once upon a time, in a fairy tale. Wait, no, it's not one of those stories. Okay, this is gonna get weird now.
We're ready.
Okay, so this person is just like being weird. And so this person is just walking around and then in a horse mask. And then they purposely do a face palm. And then they're like, and then everybody's like looking at them like this. And then this person just takes the horse mask and throws it in a fire. It made a really bad smell, and it caused everybody to, well, do this, and do this, and put masks over their face. And then the firemen thought it was a fire, and then they came and sprayed his house, and then he had to pay for everything. And he was so angry that he killed one of the firefighters.
That's awful.
And then he went to jail, and his life got worse.
Oh.
Then he broke out of jail, and he was killing every person in sight.
Oh no.
Oh.
That really
He caused
stinks.
a new type of disease
Oh my gosh.
that
Wow.
was spread worldwide.
Like the Black Plague type thing? Oh man, with all the dead corpses everywhere and rats.
He started volcanoes.
Started volcanoes?
He set off bombs,
Whoa.
caused a new bombing historic thing. Then, one day on a stormy night, he took the lives of some very non-ordinary people. These people were historic.
Whoa.
He took the lives of famous People.
Oh.
Then he was on their doorstep, acting like a pizza man. Pressed the doorbell, and then they were never seen again.
Oh my gosh.
Nice. Good one.
Are you ready for a story from
Yes.
me?
Yes, Liz.
Winter. Perhaps a winter that was a little too cold. Not the best time for an expedition through Alaska. The year was 18. Sean?
18 Sean. What?
18 Sean.
The
You
year
don't
was
remember that?
1923.
What was that?
The year was 1923. A few years before, we were sure that nothing could get any better than it already was. Technology had gone.
It's Alexis's organ failure. Your story is just.
Great.
It's good. Technology had gotten as far as it could go, so far as any of us were concerned. Then, tragedy. Titanic on her maiden voyage. Sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
7 years earlier.
Ice.
I'm
And yet here we were.
sinking! I'm sinking! Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Trudging through so much of it that I could
I'm
scarcely
falling and I
breathe in the
can't
cold.
get up. Help!
The men I were with were the strongest men I'd ever met. Except for one. Albert.
Albert.
I'm Albert!
Albert
Hey!
always complained of the cold. You know, it was Alaska. It was January. What was he expecting? We tried our best to keep him warm, yet it seemed his lips would always start to turn a shade of purple. First lavender, then darker. And we would have to set him so close to the fire for them to turn back to any sort of pinkness. Some of us men offered our extra gloves. Some of us even offered our gloves or mittens for a time. It was just too cold. We couldn't go without them for too long. And on we trudged. Through snow. Through ice. Ice that was so thick, there was no way we could walk across it without slipping. Sometimes we'd have to army crawl across. Not army crawl.
Do an army crawl.
Look it down on the floor.
Do an army crawl.
We were already so cold. Didn't make a lick of difference. And every night, all we could dream of was the fire, and sometimes, I swear, even that froze. Unfortunately, not all the men lived. It seemed the further we got, the bigger the land became. No one had truly done the cartography of Alaska. We didn't have an exact idea of just how big it was, how far we really were from the top of the world, how impossible it would be to get there. And every night, all we lived for was that fire and hoping to see Albert's purple lips turn pink. One night, a fierce wind blew, fiercer than normal. It chilled us straight to the bone. It was wet. It was dry. And that night when we lit the fire, all of us could not get close enough, especially Albert. We were worried he had gotten a little bit too close, but his lips still stayed purple. Suddenly he fell to the ground, ice cold. We just couldn't get him to warm back up. So far as we knew, he was dead. You know, that body would make really great fuel for a fire. As we got further into the tundra, fuel for fires was getting harder to find. We were respectable about the matter. But alas, how respectable can a bunch of men be when they are starving and cold? In Albert's body went, into the fire. But it did not burn. He stayed purple. So purple. Suddenly, he quivered. He stood. And he shouted, "I'm warm, I'm warm, at last I'm warm," as the rest of us froze solid, watching him dance. In Alaska. The end.
Nice. And that's why I love my family.